Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to come and say hello to everybody, introduce myself to all of you. I have met several of you at different events, and I was over at your store there the one day, and I just wanted to say my family and I are very, very happy to be here in Strathmore. We're getting settled. We're thankful that we're above the water level, not below the water level. And we thought we were coming to a semi-arid climate, but it appears to be a little bit wetter than what we thought, but we're really enjoying ourselves here so far and getting set up. We've been a week, I guess, just about a whole week now here in town, and things have been steady at the office, but I think well in control. And I invite all of you to come and see us at the office, and I'm encouraging my members to come and see you and to attend more of the town events and to get out there and be more visible and be part of the community, which is what that's my vision, is that we are part of the community and the community's part of us.
Okay. Welcome to Strathmore.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you do have any questions or concerns, please always give me a call. If I can't address it right away, I'll get the information and I will get right back to you. So that's a promise I will make to all of you. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And hopefully you can get yourself established and get your feet on the ground and start running, because
Well, we're working on it. We're getting there.
okay. We're looking forward to our relationship and spending some time with you and talking about some of the issues that are being brought forward by our citizens. So we're looking forward to it.
That as well. So thank you very much. I'll let you get to your meeting, and I look forward to working with you folks. So
Thank you very much.
thank you so much. Take care.
First item on our agenda is additions or deletions to the agenda. And Councillor Graycheck, may I start with you?
None, Your Worship.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Fuel, may I?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have one on the taxi bylaw.
Thank you. And where would you like
sorry,
to?
I have one more, just a quick comment on the cemetery and something concerning the new Public Works building.
So where would you like to put each of those?
Well, the cemetery can come in at 8.2 when we're discussing the columbarium for the Strathmore Cemetery.
Do you need it listed as a separate item?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And you have a
Taxi.
taxi. Do you want to do that under 8.6?
Sure, yes, please. And the last one, Public Works building, 8.7, is very quick, very brief.
Okay. Councillor Peterson.
Your Worship, I have a general question to administration regarding benefits to council.
You got 11.1, Councillor Peterson.
And a general comment under 8.7 Public Works.
Okay.
Can go into the same one.
Yeah. Councillor Sobel?
Administration's going to get a workout today, because I have four questions for administration. So I guess 11, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if I may also, I know it's not committee report day, but I would like to submit a short committee report under 10, Your Worship.
All right, thank you. Councillor Blokeland.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have one under 11, I guess. Questions to administration, 11.6, pedestrian crossing at High Hope.
I have nothing. Thank you. And administration?
Your Worship, we have one deletion, that's item 7.1, Public Emergency Notification System.
Thank you.
And we have one addition, Your Worship,
Yes.
which will be 7.2, yes, underground power along the east side of George Freeman Trail.
Move adoption of the agenda with the necessary changes, Your Worship.
Thank you. We have a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Next item on our agenda is adoption of the July 6th regular council meeting.
I would so move, Your Worship.
We have a motion to accept the July 6th regular council meeting. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. First item on our agenda under delegations is Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce, and we invite you to come forward. Thank you.
Greetings from the Chamber. Thank you for allowing us the time to give you a quick update on what we're doing in the Chamber right now. But first, I'd like to thank Linda Nelson for her presentation to the Chamber the other day regarding Strathmore's vision for the future. The Chamber was very impressed with the presentation, and we're very excited. And we certainly want to do whatever we can to be a part of that and to support the town and the council as they go forward with this amazing project. And in fact, I've spoken with the board. I sit on the board of Canadian Badlands with Steve. And I have asked them if they would entertain a presentation, if Linda would be prepared to do that, and she said that she would come forth and present to the board of directors with respect to some financial assistance for this project, the funds to come out of the 2017 budget. We are looking for some projects at this point in time, and I think that the board would certainly feel this was worthwhile. So I think the meeting is scheduled for early September, and they will be in contact with Linda. Right? Okay. So just quickly, the board held a lunch and learn with Tracy Polowich from Contigo Business Services on June 29th. It was very successful. We had a diverse group participate, and approximately 90% of those in attendance were interested in a follow-up session. So this is something we'd like to do for our members on a go-forward basis, and Jill, our marketing director, will put out a call to action in the newspaper for this and in our ongoing newsletters. Secondly, the Chamber will be coordinating a one-on-one member value survey to gather feedback and allow us to target our activities to our members and to find out what they believe is a priority. Mayor L was at our last meeting and expressed an interest in joining up with one of the directors when those meetings are scheduled, so you're going to be stuck with me, Your Worship. And we appreciate your support and encouragement along these lines. The Chamber and its members will be acting as judges for the Strathmore Stampede Parade, and we'd like to thank Kendra Armstrong for reaching out to us and asking us if we'd like to be part of the activities. We're very excited to announce that we will be moving into the new Chamber office, hopefully early in August. Our office will be located directly across from Rocky's Bakery at 129 2nd Avenue, and we are one of the businesses moving into the Times Mario's extension of a business center in that area. So it's in keeping with our commitment to encourage downtown revitalization. We think that's a good place for us to be, and we're hoping that means we're more visible and can interact more with our members and possibly attract new members to the Chamber as well. We will be working with Mario to host a grand opening, and we'll issue an invitation to yourselves as well when we get that sorted out. We will be promoting our first Business After 5 on August 17th at the Action Insurance. Heather Roberts will be hosting the event in celebration of the business's 5th anniversary. We're happy to be part of that. It will be our first, but we'd like to do this on an ongoing basis just to create networking opportunities for Chamber members. This particular one will run, as will most, we're hoping, from 5:30 to 7. And all of our members will be encouraged to attend to meet the Action Insurance team. It'll be an opportunity for those to tell the members more about what they do, and then hopefully on a go-forward basis, we can facilitate these sort of networking activities which allow the businesses to showcase what they're all about, but also provide our members an opportunity just to discuss businesses and see where we can establish some partnerships, etc. That's all I have, unless anyone has any questions for myself or Shelley, our executive director, is here as well.
Councillor Sobel.
I don't know if it's a question, more of a comment, but I just want to, I guess I just want to tell you that's the best Chamber of Commerce update meeting presentation that I've ever heard. So thank you very much for that. This is just amazing. I'm just so thrilled. And the second point I want to, along the same line, thank you so much for becoming part of the parade. You know, the parade is we want that as a community event, and you guys taking part in it and assisting our people with in a considerable way is very much appreciated. So thank you very much, and you're welcome back anytime with a report like that.
We weren't able to put in a float this year. We did that last year. It was an incredible amount of work, and we just don't have enough people to do that. But we extended I guess, asked for what else we could do in lieu of, and that was presented to us, so we're happy to.
Fantastic. Thank you.
participate, so.
Thanks.
Councillor Peterson?
Just want to echo Councillor Sobel's commendations and my thanks, and the rejuvenation of our local chamber is immensely important to this community.
It is.
And thank you.
We do want to, establish those rapports. We're thrilled that, Rocky sits on our board and Mayor L has been attending the meetings, so we do think it's very important for us to work together for the greater good of the town and its businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Next item on our agenda is Bow Valley College, and I don't see them present. No? And there was no regrets sent? No? Okay. Next item on our agenda after that is Transitional Solutions, FCSS Needs Assessment. Good evening. If I may, Matthew, is that microphone on and is the sound okay on that?
Test.
Oh, yeah, okay, good.
So first off, I wanted to say thank you for having us again, and following the presentation of the draft FCSS needs assessment back in May, I believe it was, we did receive some edits, both from council, and thank you for that, and from the FCSS department. And so from there, we have finalized what we believe is pretty close to the final report. We do have a question of council today that we'd like some clarification on to close the loop. And then we can finalize it and have printed bound copies for each of council. So I'll take you through some of the changes that we've gone through. I'm not going to take you through the whole report again because been there, done that. But certainly if there are any questions as I go, please don't hesitate to interrupt or wave. So just quickly, the methodology that we went through from start to finish was we did a community consultation, we did an open house, we did agency workshops, council workshop, we did a lot of social media, we did community and agency surveys, and then we did individual interviews. Then the following phase, we did community and best practice research. We looked at some of the plans that the community already had in place, like municipal development plans, municipal sustainability plans, and we looked for areas that the needs that we heard in the community were also echoed in some of your current plans. Then we drafted the report and we did a presentation to council in May. We received edits, and now here we are with the final report. So one thing that was added is, and it was the FCSS department did the research on our behalf, was to do some community comparison. And really the only community that we were able to compare with properly was Okotoks, and they had done a similar needs assessment with a lot of community consultation. So similarities between Strathmore and Okotoks was a lack of public transportation for seniors, youth, and low-income residents. But one thing that was evident in Strathmore that wasn't evident in Okotoks was young parents were also affected in Strathmore. And I'm not sure whether maybe though that demographic just didn't come out to their community consultation or whether it just wasn't apparent for them to note. Also, well-being of children was definitely a huge, I don't want to say issue, but huge area of concern and an area of focus, which it would be in any FCSS department in any community. But really, Okotoks was really more focused on making sure that children had an opportunity to be involved in activities and programs, whereas Strathmore was more focused on care of children in broken families. Affordable housing is something that is apparent in every community across this province and probably across the country, and something that you'll hear in around regional tables at councils throughout the province. Okotoks, however, was more focused on seniors, and Strathmore was more focused on a broader population. So another thing that we added to the report was more information and more detail around the FCSS Act and regulations. We assumed in our first report that that information was already apparent and people would understand that or know where to find that. But it was brought up, I believe, at the council presentation to include it. And so we have included more information on that. I'm not going to go through all of these details for you. I want you to know that they are in there. But the biggest thing I think that needs to be understood is really about what programs the FCS department can fund, can support, and which ones they can't, or can't at least with provincially funded dollars. So really, the outcomes that need to be achieved are the promotion and facilitation of development of stronger communities, public participation, volunteerism, efficient and effective use of resources, and cooperation and coordination with other agencies.
So, Ms. Thomas, may I
Yes,
interject?
please.
Your Worship? Thank you. So just out of curiosity, do you have a really good understanding of what programs can be funded by FCSS and which ones can't?
It's gray. And that is the biggest issue. It's
That's all. Yeah, thank
it's
you.
gray. That's the bottom line, is it's gray, and it's up for interpretation.
Thank you.
Definitely. There are certainly some checklists and ways to, some are pretty cut and clear, but there are definitely gray areas where you can, make appropriate reasoning to fund a program or appropriate reasoning not to fund a program. I think one thing that should be made quite clear, though, is that just because the Act and regulations say you can't use grant money to fund a program doesn't mean you can't fund a program by your council, and it doesn't mean you can't support a program through your council.
If I could add one thing, in my role as CAO, I always encourage staff, push the boundaries.
Yes.
Rarely do you get challenged by the province, and if you do, you can down it all the time. If you fund it, that's something that they don't think is eligible. But I always encourage staff, push the boundaries.
Well, in anticipation, Your Worship, of tonight's presentation, one of the things that I went back through all of the record mandates provincially and noted where those programs that they had, that under their program advisory team, under their PAT process, had decided like programs like school resource officers were no longer a fundable process. In the same paragraph, it stated it is the responsibility of a local municipality to determine whether or not to fund a project or service based on legislative parameters. So in the same paragraph where they noted what was not allowed, they then said, whatever you think is allowed. And they did not determine that based on grant funding.
Mm-hmm.
They said, if that's what you determine, so your comments are well taken in terms of boundaries. And community setting those parameters, yeah.
Right, and that school resource officer could have different.
Thank you. Exactly, and that's what they were saying, yeah. Thank you.
Councilor Graychuk?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks very much for this very informative presentation. I'm wondering, and you may have already mentioned, I may have missed it, why you're using Okotoks as a comparable town as opposed to High River, which is more our population?
Your Worship, through to Councillor
Graychuk.
Graychuk, thank you. It was really a matter of having the information at hand. We weren't able to get information from the town of High River to do a proper comparison.
I wouldn't give us a proper comparison because the population figures alone.
You're probably correct. Absolutely, but we weren't able to access the information. Whether they've done a needs assessment in the recent past, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
So I won't go through the slides on the FCSS Act and regulations. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it's in the report now for those that want to read through it. One thing, services provided under the program must not. There certainly are areas, but as Mr. Lagore said, they're gray and push the boundaries, and sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than beg for permission. Like I said, I'm not going to go through these slides in detail. One thing I do want to focus on, though, is that there are some areas that they ask, you know, is a project or service, and there's some bullets here. The first one is one that you'll note in one of our recommendations is it primarily a recreation, leisure, entertainment, or sporting activity or event? And as, if you'll remember, one of our recommendations is that the FCSS department focus less on the organizing of events and leisure activities and push that more to a recreation department or a community events department or person, and focus more on programming around FCSS.
Your worship.
Sorry, Councillor Sobel.
Question, if I could. Eric, I went through the FCSS report, and I found 2 events that dealt with recreation out of everything that they did. So I'm just wondering, I guess, why, I mean, it just doesn't seem to me like there is a big focus on supporting recreational facilities and events.
So if I could go, Your Worship, through
Please.
to Councillor Sobel. The next slide shows programs that the FCSS department supports, whether through funding or in-kind resources or staff resources. Things like the Great Pumpkin Hunt,
Yep.
Pumpkins in the Park, Drive-In Movie. Some of those programs are really more should be really more focused towards a rec department or a community events department. And while there aren't a ton, those type of events take a lot of human resources to organize. So it's just one of our recommendations, and it's actually part of one of the questions that I have for council, and maybe I can get to that right now. In a discussion with Ms. Walsh from the FCSS department, we did have a discussion about that, and some of the events that they support are in collaboration with like the youth club.
Exactly.
So it's supporting a club or an organization that is focused at some of your more vulnerable population. So, and that's definitely warranted. My question then to council, and it really is a council decision along with an administration decision, is what do you want your focus to be on as far as your FCS department's time and funds? And if that is something that's acceptable to you, then that's absolutely fine, and you can ignore that recommendation. So our recommendations are not. They're just that, recommendations.
Understood.
So in upcoming FCSS programs for 2016, again, there are a few in there that are a little bit more event focused. So just real recap, top 5 social issues that we heard through our needs assessment were addictions, lack of transportation, poverty, lack of communications regarding social programs, and family issues. The 5 priority areas that we heard were transportation, housing, a one-stop shop for social support services, and that's the biggest thing that we heard from the community is that they didn't know where to go, and even some of the agencies, they needed a one-stop shop, one place that had all the information. Just because the FCSS department doesn't offer it, they know who does offer it and how to get that service.
So if I may just ask a question there, so how can we help make sure that FCSS is able to get the information so that they can relay it to anybody who comes in and asks a question? How can we assist there?
So I think one of the issues that we saw, Your Worship, was a lack of communication between the agencies and the FCSS department, and this is a new issue since the separation from the partnership with Wheatland County. So we do have a recommendation in there for the FCSS department to work closer with the agencies, and whether they work with Wheatland County to co-chair the agency meetings that they have once a month, or whether the town of Strathmore starts hosting their own. They really need to take more of a leadership role in that, and that will definitely help assist them.
Okay, good, thank you.
So we had about a dozen recommendations. I don't know if you want me to go through them again or if you're still familiar with them. Like I said, I don't want to take too much of your time. Question, do you want me to go through all the recommendations again?
No, we've got them.
You've got
Okay.
them? Okay, perfect. So really, the one question I had to council for the report was really around the focus of the FCSS department. And I believe that, recommendation number 9, the town of Strathmore should redirect resources to have another department plan and organize community events, providing FCSS more time to develop and provide services and programs focused on social support services. And my question to council, and it doesn't need to be answered now, you could work with your FCSS department and let us know how you want that handled in the report, is that still the case, or are you happy with FCSS spending a decent amount of their human resources on assisting in events that do help organizations like the youth group?
Question.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson first.
I just think, through the chair, I think this is a really, really wonderful place to start. And we recognize that our FCSS is a new entity, and a new entity embarking on a new venture, and there are many things to be discovered yet. And one of the things that I would really like to focus on from a council perspective in our role is to work through our current human resources realignment process with FCSS to do visioning around this into the future. So I would really love to have the opportunity in our planning sessions to set aside time just for this. I think it's a very, very important part of our community. It's our community depends on it more and more all the time. And so I think that there is a core element of understanding that to build on, and that's where I see the answer to that question, is in our human resources realignment and mission and visioning from the perspective of council.
Absolutely, Your Worship. Recommendation number 10 is really around that and getting the FCSS department to develop a strategic plan and do a bit of a gap analysis between the needs assessment and what they're doing now, and develop a plan moving forward.
Councillor Sobel?
Thanks. I guess I'm just trying to be fair here more than anything. So I've got on the bottom of page 10 that it should be noted that FCSS funding is not intended to sustain an organization for long periods of time, but rather are meant to be short-term with the objective to enhance the programs. I don't see that as a gray area. I see that as a very black and white area and a good direction as to what FCSS should be doing. But yet we quickly move to resource people which is long-term for schooling, and that is supposed to push we're supposed to push the boundaries to allow something like that through the funding from the government. And it just seems to me like we can't have it both ways. HR, a recent organization recently told us that that personnel in a business are looking for direction and clear direction, and now we're telling them that they can push boundaries and ask for forgiveness after. I'm aware that some of these issues that we're talking about were specifically told to our FCSS when we did separate from the province, that this was not a government fundable thing. So if I've got somebody in a position of leadership at an organization from the town, and they're told that they can't do something, and now we're telling them that, it might not be a bad idea to do that and ask for forgiveness. I just find that very unfair. I just question where we're heading with this. I don't see as much gray area as I think everybody else does. I don't know why. I think the rules are pretty good, and one of the things, I guess what opened my eyes was a recent report done by our FCSS in regards to where their funding goes, and the highest funding is going to seniors and youth at this point. So which is, and when you look at the movie and things that they partner with other organizations with to support them, I think that's smack right in the middle of what they're supposed to be doing, because they're going after the vulnerable and the people who can't afford the quote-unquote poverty issue. So I don't know, I've got, I have no problem with us discussing direction, and there's some really good material in here. I want to thank you very much for including the inventory of social services and the direction from FCSS, because I think it's there's a lot of good information there, and I think it's and to be honest with you, and I'm probably alone on this council that believes this. I think our FCSS is, for the most part, following the rules and regulations that they've been given. If we're going to change those, then that's fine. But I think as a council, we have to be very, very clear on what instructions we're going to give our FCSS.
Go ahead, sir.
If I could just add a few comments to respond, Council. You're absolutely right, they are following. What we're saying is there's an opportunity to move something from that department to another. But that's a decision of council, not a decision of FCSS. In regards to your comments about not providing ongoing funding to an organization, they need to stand on their own feet at some point in time. What's referencing there is where you'd have FCSS providing a grant to an organization, which is completely different than if FCSS is providing the service themselves. So
Right.
you have to separate the two.
Yep. But in regards to the schooling, it's always been a grant.
Yes, but you could have an employee as part of FCSS doing that, which would be different. And that's kind of what I was referencing in my comments to Councillor Peters. So
Yeah.
it all depends how you structure it.
All right.
And as far as pushing the boundaries, council determines that when you do your budget deliberations. Is what level of funding you're providing to FCSS,
Yep.
and that knows what they have to work within.
Exactly.
So it's council that's really making that decision about pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
The one qualifier that I want to comment on is we talked about doing an affordable housing study. We recognize that you do have a study, but it's 9 years old. So really you would be updating that because there's probably some very good information within that. But being 9 years old, it's dated, it's from 2007, as I recall, I think. So we need to do that. But what staff need to do now is take this report that we presented to you people and prepare an implementation plan, do the gap analysis and present the implementation plan, and then get on with it.
Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Your Worship. And just in response to Councillor Sobel's, I don't think you're alone in stating that we understand that our FCSS is following rules and regulations, but in speaking to this council, and yourself included, I think that in the shift, there was a gap in terms of departmental strategic planning. And I think, and I'm not saying it did not come from FCSS, it came from council. And that's something that has to be remedied. It's not, the remedy is not in the hands of FCSS. They've done exactly what they were asked to do. That's never been in question. The question is, it came from this council to you, recognizing that it was this process that had to change in terms of the strategic planning and the overall departmental strategic plan, and in identifying those gaps and articulating them clearly. That's incumbent on us. Thank you.
Councillor Graychuk?
You made the comment, well, first off, I want to say that any citizens I sent to FCSS were really satisfied with what, they come back with the answer from FCSS. But where you made the comment is that there were some organizations that FCSS wasn't aware of, or they weren't communicating with, and maybe I interpreted that wrong. What were they? I don't know, or I may be missing something here.
Your Worship, through our consultation and our open house, we did have a few folks that came. One was, I think, Doug, it was grief counseling. There was a lady that had recently lost her husband and was unable to find grief counseling and wasn't able to find that information with the FCSS department. We did also, I believe through the community survey, ask the question, do you know where to find the information? that you need on a social support service, and there was a large percentage of your population that did not know. So whether the FCSS department had the information or whether the population understands that you have an FCSS department and what FCSS even is or does, where that problem lies, I'm not sure.
So is it council's duty to bring that forward to FCSS, or how does that work?
I think it's twofold. One, there needs to be better communication to the community about FCSS and the programs and services that they offer. But two, I think, as Mr. Legore mentioned, budgeting does come under council, and the FCSS department needs an appropriate budget to be able to have the resources to have all the information at hand, to be that one-stop shop. And I don't think that right now, as it stands, that they have the resources to be the one-stop shop that they need to be in this community. You have a ton of agencies that are looking to work with FCSS, and they have been working quite successfully with them, but for them to be a one-stop shop will require more resources.
Thank you.
And the other thing I think you have to recognize too, what's happened in the economy over the last year has certainly
strained.
changed the demands for social services at the local level. FCSS departments are overwhelmed across the province with what's happened with the economy.
I'm sure, yeah.
Really,
Thank you.
somebody should never get an "I don't know" answer when they call the FCSS department with a social need. Even if you don't offer a program or service, you should have an understanding of who does.
But I don't blame
Already
them
get
at this
that.
point, though, is what I'm
No,
trying.
no,
It's not their
no,
fault.
absolutely not. Nope.
This is a step forward, this is a gap analysis, then you do an implementation plan, how do you move it forward?
Yeah, thank you.
Other further? Nothing further? Thank you very much for this report, and thank you very much for the recommendations in the report, and agreeing with what Councillor Peterson said in regards to should be in our planning, our future planning, and yes, I think all of council's in agreement with doing some future planning on FCSS. So, thank you very, very much for this information. Next item on our agenda is Bylaw 1611, Canada 150 Planning Committee.
Good evening.
Good
So,
evening.
This evening, we're bringing forward a bylaw for the creation of a Canada 150 Planning Committee. As you're all aware, next year is Canada's 150th anniversary, and we would like to put a community together to start planning some events and projects in the community. You refer to the bylaw in the terms of reference. If I can find it.
Page 25.
We'll appoint 2 members of staff, myself and the community events assistant, Kendra, as well as 2 members of council. As for community members, we've left it open. We don't want to put a limit on it. The more the merrier, the more people involved, the more potential for celebration there is. And so we're just looking for first, second, and third reading and appointment of council.
Thank you. Questions, first of all? Do you have any questions that you? No? Okay,
Your worship, I move that we give first reading to bylaw number 16-11, Canada 150 Planning Committee.
we have a motion to give first reading to Bylaw 1611, Canada 150 Planning Committee. All in favor? Carried.
Your worship, I'd move that council give second reading to bylaw 16-11, Canada 150 Planning Committee.
Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried.
Your worship, I'd move that council give unanimous consent to a third reading to bylaw number 16-11, Canada 150 Planning Committee.
We have a motion to give unanimous consent to a third reading of Bylaw 1611, Canada 150 Planning Committee. All in favor? Carried.
And your worship, I would move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 16-11, Canada 150 Planning Committee.
We have a motion for third and final reading of Bylaw 1611, Canada 150 Planning Committee. No discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now we have an opportunity to appoint, pardon me?
Oh,
Yes,
Counselor.
sure.
No, I'm just saying,
Yes.
I'm not sure who's interested, but I would be if,
Your worship, I would move that Mayor L. and Councillor Sobel be appointed to the Canada 150 Planning Committee.
Is there anybody else that wishes to sit on the committee?
I don't know if I want to sit on it, but I'm just wondering, and I know they'd be very busy, but the Badlands, how do I communicate with
Oh,
all
that's
these with the
smart.
Badlands on this? Because
It's all part of it.
that's all part of it. I don't know.
In discussion, why don't we actually ask for, Tracy's going to head this up, so why don't you ask for CBT to appoint someone to the
That's what I would
committee?
recommend as well, yep.
What are you saying?
That Tracy is leading this, would ask Canadian Badlands to appoint. So if you came in through an appointment from Canadian Badlands, or you with someone else,
Alright.
Yeah, okay.
We'll take that request to the Community Badlands Board.
Deputy Mayor Fuel.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would be interested in being on it as well, but I'm perfectly happy with the two names. I could be an alternate if that helps.
sure, me too, sure. I'd help
I'll-
too.
Yeah, I'll be the alternate, and I would love to be able to sit in and come to the meetings.
Well, you're ex officio anyway.
Yes, but I would love to, and I will withdraw my name.
I will take that as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
So Sobel, Councillor Sobel and Fuel?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a motion on the floor to appoint Deputy Mayor Fuel right now, and Councillor Sobel to the Canada 150 Planning Committee.
And how does the Badlands fit in there for sure? I just want to make sure they're notified. No, and
They're sitting in the room.
May I add that to the motion?
Yes, please.
Your worship?
Yes.
So, and then I would also then add to the motion that a request be made through the Canada 150 Committee to Canadian Badlands to make an appointment of not more than 2 people to the Canada 150 Committee.
Before I accept that friendly amendment, I'm wondering if that should be a separate motion.
Yeah,
No? Okay.
it's okay.
I'll accept it then.
Yeah.
So the councillor appoint Deputy Mayor Fuel and Councillor Sobel, and contact? Or request?
And request Canadian Badlands.
And request Canadian Badlands Tourism to appoint up to 2 members to sit on this committee.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is 7.2 underground power from along the east side of George Freeman Trail. Sir.
Good evening, Your Worship, members
evening.
of council. I believe most council members are aware of the power line issue on the east side of George Freeman Trail. The administration has been in discussions with Fortis about relocating those power poles. And Fortis has agreed that they would relocate them at their cost, and the cost of doing that is $188,000. In our discussions with them, we've pointed out that in the long run, certain portions of those power poles have to be placed underground in any event. And at this particular location, it would be highly prudent to put them underground because in the long run, we're going to be building a turning lane at George Freeman Trail and Highway 1. And at that point, the power will have to be placed underground. For those reasons, and the fact that Fortis is expecting $64,000 from the town to place those power lines underground at this time, we fully support it. And we hope that we may be recouping a small amount from the developer who would have had to relocate at least one power line one power pole in any event. And that's pretty much the long and short of it. We're asking that council authorize the expenditure of $64,187.47 to support placing a stretch of the overhead power along George Freeman Trail underground and the council thanks Fortis for supporting the town on this matter, and that the expenditure will be funded from the town's financial stabilization fund.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Graychuck.
Thank you, Your Worship. Is it 188 plus the 64, or?
No, they're absorbing the entire 188. We have to contribute 64 to put it underground.
Well, so we're about-
Otherwise, they would be saying it costs 188, but we'll absorb that cost of just moving the poles.
Okay, thank you.
No further questions? I'll accept a motion.
Your Worship, I would move the council authorize the expenditure of $64,187.47 to support placing a stretch of the overhead power along George Freeman underground, and that council thanks Fortis for supporting the town on this matter. The expenditure of this amount will be funded by the town's financial stabilization fund.
Discussion? Councillor Blokland?
Thank you, Your Worship. The top paragraph states, through the chair to our director there, the top paragraph says a relocation of roughly 10 power poles.
Yes.
So the motion reads, placing a stretch. Does that include all 10 of them?
It's the area, it's a 230-meter stretch from the intersection of Highway 1 and George Freeman Trail to the northern limit of the Rencore property. Can I go over to the map?
Yeah.
Mark's warehouse.
There's the co-op, there's the road, there's the Mark's warehouse, that's under construction. From there to there, that's 230 meters. There's about 10 poles and maybe one grid.
Thank you.
No further questions?
Your Worship, if I may?
Yes.
Just a comment. I just really want to thank Councillor Graychuck for his foresight and initiative, and you as well, in your willingness to go to Fortis to discuss this really important matter, and I'm glad that Fortis is recognized in the motion. I really thank them for this, and they're a good community partner. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is Community Investment Fund, Community Services, please. Good evening.
Good evening. So the second round of community investment funding closed in June, and council had received one application for review for a large-scale funding application. The Strathmore Community Football Association submitted a request for funds to assist with the rental of change room facilities and the purchase of new equipment, including helmets. The club hosts a number of home games throughout the season at the Crowther Memorial Fields, with an estimated attendance at each game between 200 and 750 people. The club is run on 100% volunteer labor, including their coaches and trainers. The club requested $15,000 funding from town council to be matched with funding from player registration fees and the sale of their MVP cards. Upon reviewing the application by the committee on June 27th, they found that the organization met some of the major scale funding criteria, but while these criteria are important, the community felt the application lacked the ability to demonstrate the enhancement of Strathmore's reputation as an eventful town, the ability to demonstrate a definitive economic impact on local economies, and the celebration of a significant landmark in Strathmore's environment, history, culture, identity, and our diversity, all which are key criteria in the large-scale funding. The community recognized that this is an important organization in the town, but we felt that they do great work, and we appreciate what they do, but we felt the application was for operational funds, and that wasn't the vision and mandate of the program. And we therefore recommend to council that they accept this report as information. I'd also like to note that the committee and town staff have a number of grants that we found that we will be directing them to for funding that better meets operational needs. And we'll also be encouraging them to reapply next year if they have a specific event that they want our support on instead of just a regular season operation.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Blokeland?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair to the director here, I really think it's high time we started listening to this committee more when it comes to funding, getting handed out by this council. Seems to me over the years we're looked at as being pretty easy, throwing money out here and there and everywhere else. I really think we should be listening more to the recommendations on this committee, and this is one good example here. Thanks.
Thank you. No other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Your worship, I would move that council accept this report as information.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is purchase of a columbarium for the Strathmore Cemetery. Legislative Services, please.
Your Worship, administration has been approached by the Wheatland Funeral Home in regards to taking over the columbariums in the Strathmore Cemetery. Currently, the funeral home they own and operate they own and maintain the columbariums that are presently in the cemetery. We are running a shortage of spaces in the current columbariums. We have 3 spaces left at present. Administration is recommending that council consider purchasing another columbarium. In the cemetery, there's currently, on the next page, of the report, you'll see a diagram of, this isn't our monument or columbarium, but it's a fairly close picture of what we do have. We do have the one half of this columbarium, and administration would like to purchase the second half of it. There's also an arch that kind of goes across, completing the whole structure. Currently out there, we do have foundation for both columbariums. The columbariums cost $20,715 plus GST, and the arch costs about $6,000. In speaking with the Wheatland Funeral Home, they sell each niche in the columbarium between $1,700 and $2,100 per niche, and the estimated revenue from each columbarium is about $68,400. Administration is recommending that council goes ahead with the purchase of this columbarium. And it also makes it easier for the community because there's a one place to purchase plots, etc., for in the cemetery instead of having to send people to different places. It kind of brings it all together. So administration is recommending the purchase of the columbarium.
Thank you. Councillor Sobel?
Thank you. So you've already indicated one of the pros to taking over the, I guess we call it the Carstairs columbarium. Are there any negatives to accepting this?
Your Worship,
That you're aware
no, not that I'm aware of. What I will say is, as council is aware, we are limited in space in the cemetery, and structures such as this give more options, number one, to citizens, and reduce the amount of space that is taken up in the cemetery. I think this is a really positive thing for the cemetery.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Councillor Graychuk?
I'm embarrassed to ask this, but I know I'm gonna get asked, and I don't know the answer, and that is, where did the name Carstairs columbarium come from?
Your Worship, I'm not too sure. It's just what the supplier calls it. I honestly don't know. It's the name that they've given us of the columbarium.
Thank you. I don't feel so bad.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've never seen one of these things, but to me, they're not, I don't know, they're not very attractive looking. Or does the actual thing look better than the picture?
So right now, there's only one half of this out there. I think once we have the completed structure, it will look better. There's a lot of different styles of columbariums. This is one that Wheatland Funeral Home went ahead with and decided to put in there. We'd just like to finish it off because right now we have one half of it, and then there's a big kind of slab of concrete beside it. It makes sense to finish it. It's if you've ever been to the cemetery, it's kind of right by the veterans section.
Deputy Mayor Fuel?
Just before we go any farther.
yourself, Ken.
No.
You're gonna do it.
I think I mentioned this to our CAO, and I wanted to pass along our compliments to Public Works for the incredible job that somebody's doing in the cemetery. I did happen to make a U-turn and go through there, and I think the columbariums, from what I saw when I was up close, are supposed to resemble a grain elevator. And I think this is going to be a good addition, and it's much needed for the cemetery. But before we go on to the motion, I just wanted to pass on my thanks to Public Works for the care they take in the cemetery.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, go. I'll entertain a motion then, please.
I would move that council approve the purchase of the second half of the Carstairs Columbarium and the Arch from Sunset Memorial in Stone with cost not to exceed $26,715 plus GST, and that the funds be drawn from financial stabilization.
Discussion? And just for clarification for me, you indicated somewhere that we're going to be taking over the other columbarium from Wheatland Funeral Home. Is there any cost to us?
In the long run, there possibly could be maintenance cost.
But no.
They're really good structures. I can see very minimal costs, Your Worship.
Good, thank you.
We need a reliquary too, Your Worship.
We need a which?
Old mare's bones in the Arch.
Oh, no.
These are big words.
We have a motion, any further discussion? We have a motion for council to approve the purchase. All in favor? Carried, thank you. I'll tell you what, the bones are old.
How many mayors do you go back?
Next.
Your worship, just,
Yes,
I was just looking at that motion. That does not authorize us to take over the columbarium
no, it doesn't.
from Wheatland. Do
But-
we need a motion on that?
Well, I was thinking, I thought about that, Your Worship, but I think, Councillor Sobel, that that's an agreement that will have to be made with Wheatland Funeral Home.
Correct. It will remain in their possession until their 3 spaces are sold.
Oh, I see.
And we are just purchasing the other half
Okay.
of the monument. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, that's fine, great, thank you. Next item on our sign is the town entrance sign, Canadian Badlands. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Councillor Sobel.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, as I think council is aware, we've been in some discussion with the Canadian Badlands in regards to putting up one of their signs, or 2 of their signs, I guess, at the entrances to our community. And I guess my desire here tonight is to get this process going. And as I understood the process, and I really stand to be corrected on this, but as I understood it, the next step was to have administration get quotes for a sign that would be next to or adjacent to our entrance signs on Highway 1 at present, and then to go into negotiations with Badlands as to how much they would pay towards the sign and the dollars and what it would cost us, et cetera. That's my understanding.
Thank you. Councillor Graychuk, can you provide some additional information on that?
Yes, and we had our first meeting through a conference call with Badlands here a couple of weeks ago. And I asked that question, and they indicated to me that a letter had been sent to the town, and I don't know the dates. A letter had been sent to the town outlining the design, the requirements of the sign and everything, and the costs in the letter. So I'm not sure where this letter is. What I
wasn't aware of that.
Councillor Peterson,
I
you
do
can
know,
provide?
thank you,
Okay.
Your Worship. I do know that letter was sent because when the Canadian Badlands Tourism CEO was here, he talked about doing that, and I know that he said in a subsequent meeting that I had with him that had been done. And we have people here that could maybe offer some clarification, Councillor Graychuk, but my understanding, when Mr. Tucker was here, he said that Canadian Badlands Tourism had agreed to extend the opportunity, or the time, to give Strathmore the opportunity to access the $5,000 matching grant. That was my understanding. that there was $5,000 made available to other communities to put up signs, and that Strathmore wasn't a part of, well, we all know what the history was, but they didn't avail themselves of it at that time, but that they would make allowances for us to do so. And then the constraints or the parameters around that I'm uncertain of, but I can attest to the fact that he did send a letter to our administration.
Yes, and that had been, the $5,000 had been mentioned, but maybe if I could take the liberty, a co-member, board member is here, could you recall what the conversation was on that?
My understanding was that they would reinstate that offer for the town of Strathmore to go ahead with that, and that they would pay 50% of the cost of installing those signs. Now, whether or not there was a $5,000 maximum on that, I'm not sure, but they did say they would pay.
Yeah, I think he said up to, yeah.
So I will endeavor to find, we can find this letter. If we can't find the letter, I'll get one again from the Badlands.
If I could, I think this belongs properly in administration's court, and with council's agreement, I'd like to turn this over to administration to either locate the letter or get a supplement, and then do some background checks on this. Yeah.
Before we do that, Councilor Peterson, did you want to
Well,
add something?
it just makes sense, like if I was a member of a committee, it would kind of be my deal.
I'm sorry.
If I was the one that was appointed to the committee, it would kind of be in my purview first, I think, and then take it to administration.
Well, this is not just finding the letter and getting an agreement in place. This is getting a quote and getting getting the details. It's administration who's going to be arranging for the purchase of this.
Yeah, I understand, but what I'm saying is that the person appointed by this council to the committee could get those details and then give them to administration.
Let's
It's a
hear from
fine, it's a
administration
fine.
here.
Okay. Mr. Thackeray, if you could please enlighten us a little.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm actually going to ask Ms. Sawatsky to, I think we can address some of your concerns, so I'm going to turn it over to Jen.
Thank you.
here. Thank you.
Your Worship, this item came to me last week, I believe, so I actually called the Badlands because we did a search of our records and we could not find record of the letter. So we called them and asked if they could send us a copy or a record, and she could not find record of the letter. So she was going to do a little more research into it and get back to us. So I'm still waiting to hear back from her, but we have addressed the matter with them.
Okay. So do we want to postpone this item and have
Absolutely.
administration bring it back to us with some clarity?
Yeah.
If administration could give us an idea when you might be able to bring it back to us.
The next council meeting, Your Worship.
That's August 3rd. Most likely.
Yes.
Okay.
And the only other comment I would make, and I don't know if this is going to be possible within the confines of the agreement, but I would really, I think this would be a great opportunity to have our population and our date of being established as a municipality on that particular sign. So that's not a motion, that's just I guess a request if it's at all possible. And once again, it's up to council whether that's supported or not.
And just further information on that, if we are looking at doing a separate sign, we'll have to get permission from Alberta Highways and all of the stuff that goes with that. So there's some extra work that has to be done on that, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, administration. Thank you very much. And next item on our agenda is, leave of absence in regards to Councillor Walls. And who was administrative services, you're bringing that forward? Or is it a council member?
Your Worship, I can bring it forward. I was approached by council and our CAO to bring this matter forward, requesting a leave of absence be granted to Councillor Walls due to some medical reasons. The recommendation is to August 30th. I'm not too sure. That's at council's discretion, though.
Thank you. Is there any questions of administration in regards to this? I'll entertain a motion then, please.
So moved.
I move that council authorize leave of absence for Councillor Walls effective immediately and ending on August 30th, 2016.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, did you have some discussion?
Yes,
Okay,
Worship.
go ahead, Councillor Blokeland.
I would like to add a friendly amendment to that, that it become an extended leave of absence. I think Councillor Walls' condition, he doesn't know if it's gonna be a month or 3 months or 6 months.
But we can revisit again on the council meeting prior to August the 30th and extend it at that period if necessary.
And a leave of absence is due to medical reasons. Does he still qualify for remuneration, which I hope he should be?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the
Your
motion is
Worship.
on. Yes, go ahead.
If I may,
Yes?
I'm just wondering, pending the next item, would council be amenable?
The day after the first meeting in September, when it, and I, the first meeting in September is, so that would give us, if necessary, to extend at that council meeting before it expires.
So that would be the 7th of September. 8th of September. Thank you.
So, made the motion, was,
I did.
okay, sorry. So,
I accept that friendly amendment.
is the council authorized to leave Councilor Walls of immediately on 2016? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Legislative services to considering accepting a council meeting. And I'll let Mr. Shi issue for
Your Worship, there's been some discussion of council administrating a meeting in August 3rd, but there's been some need to inform the public as counciled and a formal is from
Councilor.
Clarify for discussing camera today. That's the only item. I think that's an issue not most. I don't think that we can wait for to deal with that information. I suggest that council should be prepared to go ahead with.
And I think we're prepared to go ahead with this meeting. Time to cancel the council meeting in August. The written document shows August the 3rd. Is the recommendation of the correct?
Possibly canceling with me meeting, the special council meeting. In case get things done, then the August read meeting
That council cancel. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that. That council cancel the August 17th, 2016 regular council meeting and instruct administration to send out notifications regarding the cancellation and advertise accordingly. No further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is 8.6, Deputy Mayor Fuel. I do believe you were wanting to bring an item forward.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a short prepared paragraph, and then we can go from there. Since the spring, when we did not pass the taxi bylaw, I've been worried that we did not get a chance to actually hear the opinion of our Chief Bylaw Officer, Teresa Fuchs. Yesterday, I was able to meet with her, our CAO, and the mayor. I wanted to find out her views on having a new taxi bylaw, and that's because we never actually heard from her on the night the taxi bylaw did not pass. It became very clear to me by the end of this meeting that bylaw enforcement feels that a new improved taxi bylaw is needed. Officer Fuchs mentioned the facts that permanent decaling, regular and standardized mechanical inspections, cleanliness, and smoke-free taxis are essential. In fact, I did wind up asking her to rate the importance of Strathmore getting a new taxi bylaw, using number 1 as the least important and number 10 being the most important, and her response was an immediate 10. So, Your Worship, if the head of our peace officers is so supportive of a new taxi bylaw, then I feel this needs to be listened to and respected for the safety of our residents. To that end, I asked the CAO to bring back to Council Bylaw 15-27 with the following amendment, that the clause or clauses dealing with the addition of handicap accessible vehicles be excluded from the bylaw.
Thank you. Questions? Did you want to put a date in there when they need to bring it back?
I would like it at the next council meeting, so August 3rd.
And I will ask administration if that would work within their parameters.
I think so. I think, through the chair, yes, I believe we could put those amendments forward if the council wishes. Thank you.
Okay, good. Councillor Bulkland?
Thank you, Your Worship. Can I get clarification from administration? This bylaw got defeated on such and such a date. I can't remember when. Is there a time frame when this one can come back?
Your Worship, yes. So I actually just checked the procedural bylaw. Has to come back within 6 months of being defeated. It's my understanding that this is a notice of motion from Councillor Fuel saying that he will be bringing a motion to the August 3rd meeting for Council to reconsider the bylaw. That motion must be passed by Council by a 2/3 vote.
Further discussion? And there was a motion in there?
Your Worship.
Yes. Oops. Yeah, I'm sorry?
Thank you, Your Worship. Might be noted, I believe we are having a meeting on this tomorrow at 1 o'clock with our, I lost the name here, our senior peace officer. She's invited to that meeting, right? Okay.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor? All in favor? Opposed?
Your Worship.
I think it
Yes.
was a motion.
So there wasn't a motion in there?
There is
I
no
thought there
motion.
was.
It's a notice of motion.
Notice of motion, pardon me. There's just a notice of motion. I'll take all of that voting back. It was a notice of motion. Next item on our agenda is Deputy Mayor Fuel wishes to bring something forward in regards to Public Works.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick comment. I know myself and some other councillors and you, I'm not sure if you were there, but we went to the opening of the new Public Works building. So I wanted to thank Councillor Graychuk for his efforts in going to attend the auction for the building and being able to purchase it at what we feel is a very good price, and it will help our Public Works Department work more efficiently with more room. It will help staff morale, and it will help with the public, with parks having more room in the current location. So again, I just wanted to extend thanks to Mel as well, Mel Teedy, but especially Councillor Graychuk, who was successful in bidding for the building.
Councillor
I
Graychuk.
humbly accept that, but really, Your Worship, it's all of council that did this, and I really appreciate their foresight and the well-being that or intent that they did for this. It's all of us together that did it, and that's how we should work together. Thank you.
Thank you. And did you want to speak on
Oh,
a separate item?
just to add to that, Councillor Graychuk's being extremely and uncharacteristically humble. And because we all know that it was by his initiative, and we're grateful that he brought us together on that. And I'd just like to pass on my thanks to Public Works and to admin for the great job they did of that open house today. It was wonderful to be able to show community the very, very diligent work done by our administration to bring that to fruition today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your worship, I'd just like to add one thing, if I may.
Please?
I've never seen staff so excited by moving in there, and I think Councillor Sobel sees that. They were just ecstatic to be in that building. Now they can really work and get something done.
Good. And yes, I can understand why they're happy. All righty. Next item on our agenda is committee and departmental reports. And Councillor Sobel, you wanted to bring something forward?
Just very briefly, Your Worship, on Thursday, July 14th, members of the Council Sustainability Committee, including Colin Huxted, Christine Huxted, Linda Nelson, and myself, traveled to Leduc, Alberta. This was the opening day for the Alberta Summer Games, which was hosted by Leduc, and the committee was there to present a planter filled with compostable material produced from our very own Alberta 55-plus Summer Games, which we hosted in 2015. The committee was warmly welcomed and thanked repeatedly by Leduc Mayor Greg Krischke, who commented on the need for a sustainability element in all future games. Sustainability Committee member and Leduc Councillor Glenn Finstad committed to passing the torch on to the next Alberta Games, suggesting this is a start of a great tradition focused on education. And that's all I just wanted to report. It was a great trip up there. They were very, very pleased with their presence, and we supplied a plaque on the planter outlining some sustainability goals and challenging them to pass on the quote-unquote sustainability torch. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is questions between councillors and/or to administration. And Councillor Peterson, you're first.
My question is to administration with regards to the allowance for mayor and council to have benefits. I know that other councils do, and I know that some of us are fortunate enough in our work to have access to full benefits, but I do believe that there is possibility for this to happen, and I'm wondering if it would be possible for administration to bring that back to present it to council at some point. I'd be appreciative.
Please.
Through the chair, yes, we'd be pleased to do that. We could report back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, you're talking benefits in regards to healthcare,
Health,
life
yes.
insurance, those
Yes,
kinds of things?
yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Good to know. Next item on our agenda is Councillor Sobel. You have the floor.
Thanks. My first question to administration deals with the recent direction from council in the spring of this year in regards to, I'm sorry, I was going to say the spring workshop, but it was actually at a council meeting which dealt with budget. And this was in regards to hiring of 2 full-time fire department personnel for our fire department. And I just would like to get an update on where we stand on that issue.
Please.
Your Worship, the issue has been brought up, and thank you for bringing it to our attention, Councillor Sobel. The item that because the fire chief has just gotten back recently and actually is away this week, we would like to give the chief a chance to add his paint to the canvas for the review that's ongoing. So we would like to give that person a chance to get their head around the issue. And so in the meantime, we want him to act on that and give us some recommendations.
Great. I'm just hoping that there's some sense of urgency there. These are emergency personnel, and I think all of council agreed was vital to improving our fire department response. So I guess my comment is the sooner that can happen, the better. The second issue that I wanted to bring up, there was a comment made from a member of council in regards to emails being sent from members of council to administrations, to senior administration on off hours and specifically on weekends. And And I just want to, I guess, ask members of the senior administration if that is a concern to them. Those emails that go in are usually prefaced with a comment that no action is required until normal working hours. Certainly anything I've sent, or the majority of which, unless it is an emergency, does not require an immediate response. But I do want to know if that is, that's an issue for administration to get these emails on weekends.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor. I have no trouble receiving an email on the weekend or off hours, and thank you to any member of council, including Councillor Sobel. I'd always prefaced with the proviso, we just want to give you the heads up, and here's the issue. Do it during regular hours. I have no problem with that. It's an email coming to me, that's fine. As long as the expectation isn't that it's Sunday night and I'm reading stories to my son. I might get a dirty look from my son.
Never want that.
No, thank you.
The third issue I wish to bring up, of course, the last 2 weeks, we've seen an unprecedented amount of rain, or close to, I would suggest, and there is some pockets of issue that have arisen all over town. But two that I'm particularly interested in is one is the issue pertaining to Strathmore Lakes, where we did see some significant flooding there, and as I understand it from recent emails, that is being very seriously worked on by a number of staff members, and a solution to that issue is forthcoming in the near future. So I appreciate that. The other one was, however, in regards to Highway 1, and I know. And I may be wrong on this, but I know it flooded at least twice over the rains, and I get that there was an abnormal amount of rain that fell, but that brings me to, I guess, the question of whether or not that there's anything of an issue that Alberta Transportation should be looking on, as it's their highway that we're getting all this rain from. And whether or not some communication should be had with them in regards to this.
Maybe through the chair, we can certainly approach AT, and I think the Director of Infrastructure is here, so I will ask through the chair for the Director to follow up and see what AT's issues are and what could be done, so.
Might be an infrastructure issue on that. I'm just flooded really bad.
It was an unusual,
Mm-hmm.
we had, I think, 6 inches of rain in an extremely short
Mm-hmm.
period of time, so, thank you.
If you may, Your Worship, excuse me, there is some urgency in this, because when I was mayor, it happened twice also, and I got a lot of heck over that, but I was informed at the time the stormwater line going into that system is 24 inches, and crossing the highway is only 12 inches. It just doesn't work in my philosophy. That's one of the biggest problems. 24 going at 12 inches.
Yeah.
So I don't know transportation is not going to, they're not going to be very receptive to digging under, making a 24-inch line. I don't know how do we do this.
That's their road.
So it's a real problem.
Well, the highway was closed down.
We would agree with you, it is a problem. There are technologies out there that can be explored. We don't have any simple answers for it, and certainly we need to know what the problems are in order to come up with some reasonable solutions. And yes, there are other agencies involved, and that will be and I'll ask through this for Bryce to follow up on this. So, thank you.
Did you want to add something?
Just a quick add-on to that, conversations with Alberta Transportation have already begun. So we are.
Why does that surprise me?
Conversations, and we'll continue until we can get to a solution.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. You've already been on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, one of my pet peeves is always, for the last while, has been when we have a Facebook page, a town Facebook page, and questions are asked, and they go unanswered, and I think that defeats the whole purpose of having a Facebook page, et cetera. But I want to thank administration, because I really noticed a big change in this in the last few months, and you can see it reflected on the persons who are asking the questions. They're very grateful for the responses that they're getting. So somebody is keeping track of that, and I'd just like you to pass on my thanks to your staff for staying on top of that issue. It really does help our constituents. Thank you.
Did you wish to add?
I just think we have outstanding staff. Thank you.
I agree. And that's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Councillor Blokeland.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is to administration regarding the solar crossing lights across the street from Hi-Ho there. We chatted about this, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months ago. My buddy Jimmy is constantly getting barraged by his customers crossing the street there, and just wondering if we're getting any closer on this. That'd be similar to the solar crossing lights we got over by George Freeman and Edgefield. The last I heard, a couple of months ago, there was a warranty issue or something or other, malfunction issue on them.
Go ahead, sir.
So infrastructure was currently involved in looking into that project. There were a few issues that we're trying to iron out with the engineering. Mostly things like line of sight, whether or not that crosswalk is safe as is, or do we need to move it. The other question that you brought up was a warranty issue. We had some issues with the lights on George Freeman Trail, and we were investigating if there was a better opportunity or a better product out there for the next set of lights that we do, which would be the crossing at the Hi-Ho as mentioned. So we're still investigating that. The project hasn't been forgotten. It's just a matter of finalizing some details before we move forward. And then we'll bring a budget recommendation or a request to council when we get the quotes.
Did you want to add a question on that, Councillor Graychuk?
Yeah, if I may.
Sure.
In that discussion, we were, is it Fred, the Department of Transportation on that? Is it Fred, is there a Fred? What's the name? Yeah, Fred Lau, yeah. We had discussed with him also in that same time frame about lights crossing Wheatland Trail from the Sunset Haven, because there is some urgency in that, because it's very dangerous for these folks to cross, because they have no parking anywhere else, and they got to park on the west side. And he said he was going to look into it, and I don't know where that's going.
The last I heard on that particular item was that Alberta Transportation did a pedestrian review and count in that area, and the count did not warrant a crosswalk. That was the last communication and that I had from Alberta Transportation. I know that there was a request to follow up that because of the urgency and need in the area. I have not heard anything back on that.
Because the time that they did it was from 10 o'clock in the morning till 2 in the afternoon when there was no traffic. I mean, you know, we can always.
Part of the updated request and urgency is we asked that perhaps a possibility of having another study done at a different time.
Please do. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Councillor Blokeland?
Just to finish on this, I thought when we talked about this before, we already approved this through council.
Are you talking about putting the
Those,
crosswalk lights
yeah.
over by the Hi-Ho?
It wasn't that expensive, it was 26 or 28,000, I heard.
That was an estimate brought, that was an estimate brought forward based on the George Freeman Trail lights. There are some other things that need to be addressed with the Hi-Ho crossing lights, as we'll call it. Things like pedestrian access right now, there's no sidewalks.
Right.
There's no pathways in that area, so those would have to be included in this project, otherwise we have a crosswalk to essentially nowhere. So there's a few extra items and we'll finalize those budget details and bring that final budget in for approval.
But you're gonna move you're actually gonna move the crosswalk farther down to where the sidewalk was.
Right now, one of the options is the crosswalk currently is on the north end of, I guess, the northeast corner, crossing towards the Hi-Ho, which crosses directly into their
Right.
Driveway approach, which of course we cannot
Nope.
allow. So we've investigated option 2, which is to move it to the other corner. And that's the one we're working on with the extra pathways, wheelchair ramps, that kind of thing.
Yep. Thanks, Bruce.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's all of the items on our agenda, and if we want to take a motion to go in camera for a labor issue, I will take that motion.
So move.
We have a motion to go in camera for a labor issue. Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried.
Motion to,
Recess?
Recess.
We have a motion to
Terry,
go for
before you leave,
recess?
sorry, thank you.
We got a motion to, we have recess.